Hari Om. My name is Anantsinh Gawli. I work for an MNC bank and have been coming to Bapu. I mean, he has drawn me to him from around 2001. So when we asked to narrate our experience, we were really excited. Me and my wife. But then we sat and started thinking as to what we'll narrate and how many experiences we will narrate. Because honestly, from the time that we have started to come to Bapu, life has never been the same. In fact, I would very neatly put it up like even before thorns have come in your path, you would actually pluck it out or either at least soften them so much so that you don't even feel the pinch. So I'm going to narrate three experiences and I will categorize it in one in my marriage and career, second was my dad's health, and third is regarding my career and my home loan again. So before going to my first experience, I would give you a slight background as to my background and my wife's family background. So I come from Kolhapur. I had a very good academic background. In fact, I was 10th in my Kolhapur board, and my parents had very huge expectations out of me. Due to my good academic score and all, I was able to get admission into KJ Somaiya College of Engineering in Mumbai. This is the first time I went out from a small town like Kolhapur into a big city like Mumbai. That was in 1996. The same year, within few weeks, I lost my mother. She was an ardent Sai devotee as well as I was an ardent Sai devotee. The max I would manage actually after those 4 years of engineering was a first class, and even with that first class, what I would manage was just a trainee job in Godrej G appliances. It was Godrej G at that time. Within 9 months of that job, I realized that this was not really for me, and it was really monotonous and didn't really have any kind of future prospect. So I did a postgraduate software application course which is called a PGDSAE. That time it was very famous from an institute called as Boston. This is a 6 months course wherein you get the job before even you start the course. So I was there placed, I did a couple of interviews with Patni and there was one company called CSS WebTech. This company had its headquarters in Iran, and I got selected, and the package which was offered to me in 2001 was 4 lakhs per annum, which was amazing. I mean, I had just passed first class and there was nothing great about me, in fact. So I was really hoping that I get into this and start working and get a house and blah blah blah. So there we started, put in rigorous 6 months hard work, and then it was 2001. If you all remember, it was the time when Osama bin Laden thought of bombing USA, and that was the end of all projects. All the projects in Iran got freezed because most of them were government of Iran projects. There were sanctions being laden on them, and that was the end of my software career, temporarily I would say. Forget about new job. It was a situation wherein people were actually asked to look out for another jobs. There were redundancy exercises carried out. People were removed from their jobs. I tried for some time and then I thought, forget it. I mean, I agreed that I put in so much money, put so much effort, but as God wishes. So I just thought to myself, whatever job I get, I'll join it. And so therefore I joined a sales job, which was not really my characteristic. I mean, I was a very introvert person. Even the way I'm talking to you, it is not possible for me maybe 5 years back or even now in that clarity. So there I joined a sales job, carrying projectors, LCD projectors with me, going around Mumbai city. There were computer filters also to be sold. And sometimes I would just feel, when I was in places like Siebes, which is kind of a Makkah for software developers, like after putting so much efforts, after so much belief in my God, what is there which is not there in me and which is there in these blue collared people who are roaming around, that I had to suffer this thing and these people are just enjoying themselves? I mean, what is that I need to do? And those were the times when one of our close friends, through close friends, I met my wife Lakshmi Viga when we were going to Lonavala, and she was the one who actually took me to Bapu. It was around 2002. I remember very vividly. The date was Valentine's Day, 14 Feb 2002, and even today I personally celebrate as my Bapu Day. So from then, the time I saw him, I mean, the vibrations are amazing. I couldn't really relate to what it was, and from my educational background, considering myself intelligent, I said, okay, fine. I mean, just a handsome personality. That's what I felt at that time. But then, indirectly, just to meet her, actually, I used to go with her. We used to visit Marathi Kendra, and I never thought of connecting the dots. And my life started changing a lot. In 2003, I got this call from Patni Computers again. 1 year back, when I had given the interview, I had failed it because one of the critical part of the interview process was the group discussions, which I was really bad at, and I couldn't really speak out with 4 or 5 people. And the same company, right, and with a lot of more people, I actually sat. In fact, what I would say is, now that I connect the dots together, I feel that through the sales job, Bapu did make myself prepare for this particular GD, and I did it very well, and I was selected. This was my first software development job at 2003, and then things were really never the same. I went to Chennai for 9 months, which was pathetic actually, but again Bapu got me transferred back to Mumbai, and life was good. So how do I relate it to my marriage? My wife Lakshmi is a Sindhi and I am a pure Maharashtrian. So the first problem was in her family. For people who are hearing this, may not really look like, okay fine, this happens. But during those times and even now, I have seen people's lives broken, people, I mean, going through a lot of stress just because their love life is not successful. It's there in my all friend circle. I have seen a lot of time, and I was really not worried at that time, because at that time somehow I had started building a faith in Bapu. And even when my wife used to tell me what would happen, how would my mother agree, how would my dad agree, I used to say, don't worry, Bapu's there. Her mother was really a taskmaster, as was her father. Both were very strict, and her mother had a valid point. This boy really doesn't earn much. And that was when I was in a sales job, and then life transformed and I got into a software job. So the mother's issue was resolved. She finally got me passed. Now came her dad's issue. Her dad was a consultant and did jobs in society, so he was not really time bound. Sometime he saw us together roaming somewhere, and from that day he used to follow us like anything, and even he used to sit at the Kendra, doze off, but he would follow us, because as a father, he also wanted that his daughter should be in the right hands. And I was kind of a Shah Rukh fan at that time. I used to say, oh, don't worry, Bapu will take care and all that stuff. But now that I actually look back, I feel how hard it was at those times. Lakshmi Viva used to cry daily, okay, and I used to console her, don't worry, don't worry. Finally my steadfastness and my faith actually took off, and very easily her dad agreed, and it was a good closure to our love life within a marriage. So this was one of the very exciting experiences. In fact, I didn't even think of my dad. It just got very smoothly, even though my dad is as strict as anything. I mean, he is again a pure Maharashtrian man, but still, I mean, getting married into a other caste didn't really bother him, and it was really smooth, thanks to Bapu. My next experience is regarding my dad's health. I moved to Mumbai, and it was my brother alone who was supporting him for quite some time. I would rather say that he in fact sacrificed few of his years in his job just because to stay with my dad, because nobody else was there. My mother was not there, so we 3 siblings were the only ones. And a lot of times I used to feel, am I really doing enough for my dad? am I really doing something? Because in that IT profile, you don't really get that much time, and when you're in your early years, it's really very hectic. Now I had found that even at later is that hectic only. So what happened was, my dad had severe heart, lungs and liver problem. You name it, he had it. And it was around 2009 July. We never thought that things would go to such a drastic level. And we realized that when he came to meet me in Mumbai, and while going back, he had drunk some cold water and he sat in AC. Those were the only simple things which triggered a major illness in him. When he reached Mumbai, Kolhapur, fortunately my sister was there to meet him, and she told me in 2 days that dad has to be admitted. I asked why. She informed me that he has got pneumonia in his lungs. At around 69-70 years of age, having pneumonia in your lungs, and that too at a very advanced stage, with your liver not really functioning well, your kidneys not functioning well, you have a clot in your heart, your cholesterol levels are high. He was recommended a bypass 2-3 years back. We never did it. He never didn't want to do it. So with so many complications, I was just praying to Bapu. I went to Kolhapur. The doctors had just put their hands up. They said there is a very, very high chance of multiple organ failure because of the seriousness of all the organs. I mean, they are very, very sensitive. And you can actually call up your relatives, because what had happened was his platelet count had gone to 10,000. For a normal human being, if you look at it, the normal count should be in the range of 1.5 lakhs to onwards. And then probably around 20,000 is somewhere which is kind of going towards fatal, and 10,000 is actually fatal. And we were really, really worried. And all the time, Bapu's words were ringing in my mind that the actual shraddh that we do of our parents is not when they actually die off or when after their death, but it's actually during their lifetime. It's actually the seva that we do for our parents. And I was actually praying to Bapu. My sister has done some seva, my brother has done something for him. I have not really done anything for him. Can you give me one chance, please? And I continuously started that. Miraculously, things started improving from day 3rd or 4th, and within 10 days my dad was out of the hospital. It was a huge change for me. I mean, that was one thing which made my faith very, very strong, because I mean, I can just go on describing, but I'll tell you one thing, that it is only people who face those obstacles that know actually the seriousness of the issue. And I can tell you that my dad was on the verge of going off, and Bapu had actually brought him back to life. So thanks a lot to Bapu for that. I can't just, and thanks is a very small word, I would say. The gratitude cannot be expressed in words. This was my experience with my dad. One last experience is regarding my career. As I mentioned earlier, I was working in Patni, and then Patnis were not really known for very good paymasters at that time. Me and my wife were thinking of taking a loan or taking a home. We researched almost for 6 months, and then finally finalized on a property in Thakur complex. The amount of home loan which needed to be taken was huge at that time, and for us, both of us had just started in our careers, and it was like the EMI itself was 1.5 times the combined salary. I mean, like my salary, her salary, and it was just 0.5 left out of it to manage all our expenses. So we consulted, and some of our friends cautioned us that why you were taking so much risk. Some of our friends said, go ahead, Bapu is there, he'll take care of it. So eventually I thought, forget it. If there is something which should go wrong, if Bapu wants us not to do this, the deal will not go through. And finally it happened that the deal went out smoothly. In fact, at that time where a lot of people were asking for black money, and some part in black, some part in white, this guy actually asked for full white and made things easier for us. The loan itself was not getting, I mean, it was with difficult efforts that we actually got the loan finally, and the deal was smooth. Within 3 months of time, it was 2006, it was the first Sachidanand Utsav that we celebrated at our new house. And I remember the time I got a call from one of the companies, one of the MNC companies, Merrill Lynch. I'd never heard the name till that time. I never was linked to the financial world actually. Forget about investment banking per se. I got this call from a consultant. He said your profile is good and that. But I was kind of, after 3 years in a company, I was in a bit comfortable position, didn't really want to move out. So I was a bit reluctant. But this guy was very persistent. He said, no, you should go. This is a very good company. So then my wife Lakshmi said, Anantsinh Bapu has come to our house. Maybe this is an opportunity he wants to give you. Go and have a look. So I went. I gave an interview. And it was normal. I mean, I didn't really do exceptionally good, but it was good. And I know, I mean, there was 2 or 3 days of that Utsav. Before the last day, I again got a call from the consultant. He said, the people have liked you very much. The company has liked you very much. They want to get you on board. I said, okay, fine. So I went. And those were the times I just mentioned that the financial thing was really kind of, you can say, we were just compromising, on the verge of compromising on our comforts. And then I got to this offer, and this was double the pay what I was getting at Patni. And I was really wonderstruck. I was thinking, my God, I mean, at this stage I can get such a salary. And it really went through. I have been associated with that company for the last 6.5 years now. There have been lots of up and downs. I mean, in 2008, 2009, there was a recession going all over the world. There were jobs being reduced in our company also. And there were a lot of groups which merged, a lot of groups which were removed, but there was only few rare groups which were not touched. They were untouched because of the acquiring company didn't have those kind of skill sets. And we were one of those groups. So our group was not touched at all, and I maintained my job. Those were really stressful times. Nobody knew what would happen tomorrow. People were getting pink slips on Fridays. In fact, a lot of people thought of, they never came on Fridays actually. They really came on Mondays. But actually destiny doesn't, wait for them. They would usually get it from reception, and they would go from the reception itself. So when now I look back on my life, which has changed a lot in those many last 10 years, I could connect those dots. Being from an intellectual background, being from an educational background, you tend to think a lot of times, fine, this was a coincidence. Okay, fine, this was also a coincidence. Somehow you deny the fact that there is a human in the form of, there is a God in the form of a human. Maybe because education makes us think of so many questions. And I never actually unconditionally surrendered to him. But then for the last few years, when I look back and I see that where I was and where I am, this cannot really be a part of coincidence. This cannot really be a part of coincidence. In fact, as we read in Aniruddha Mahima, even if you look at him by chance, even if your prarabdhas are so much, if there is so much ignorance on your mind, still, even if you look at him only lovingly once, he takes care of you. And that's what he did to me. And thanks a lot to Bapu, Ai and Dada, that I am at this stage of life, living my life comfortably. And that's what I would pray to Bapu, that he would give the same steadfastness to all the Shraddhavans and remove all the kutarks or doubts which they have in mind. And let's all be a Gopalaks, without even thinking, without questioning. Let's all just have Shraddha on his feet. Hari Om.